The military junta in Niger has cut ties with Nigeria, France, US and Togo over the ultimatum to restore democracy in the country as pressure mounts on President Tinubu to reject the option of invasion. President Bola Tinubu has forwarded the names of 48 ministerial nominees to the Senate for vetting and approval. The move is in line with Section 147 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Now, Tinubu's ministerial list is the largest in Nigeria's political history and considered in many quarters to be highly bloated at a time when there are widespread calls on the federal government to lower the cost of governance in the country. While President Tinubu may need all the help he can get to pull Nigeria out of its current economic situation, maintaining a ministerial cabinet of 48 persons is bound to be quite expensive to run, and critics have not relented in drawing its attention to the implications on the cost of governance. Now, a bigger concern perhaps is what should be done to set a good governance and anti-corruption agenda for the incoming cabinet. Well, to help us understand the issues better, we have joining us in the studio the former Commissioner for Information in Adamawa State, Sajoh. He's also a member of the All Progressives Congress. We also have with us the Director General of the Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness, Dr. Gabriel Nwambu. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and let me start with you, Sajoh. What's been your impression so far? I mean, having names of 48 persons being sent to the Senate, this is the largest in Nigeria's political history, and some people are already saying that you may even have a situation whereby people may some of the nominees, when cleared, may even be ministers without portfolio.
No, I don't think that anybody can be a minister without portfolio. Let us be very clear on certain things. There are two components to it. There's cost of governance and there's efficiency of governance. For too long, we are concentrating on costs. We're not looking at efficiency. I remember very well that I was part of a group of people that had criticized the position of Fashola in the first Buhari administration. Giving one person works, power, and housing, I felt even if he was a superman, you know, some of the components of the ministry under his purview would suffer, and they did really suffer. So sometimes for efficiency, I can see that we're getting to a level that even at state level, most of the states now do not have one commissioner for education in charge of all of education. There's basic education, basic and secondary education, and then there's tertiary education. Somebody must pay attention to, you know, some of these aspects of governance that gives greater supervisory roles to individuals to make sure that targets are achieved. When you say there's one minister of education and he focuses all his attention maybe on primary, basic and secondary education, tertiary education suffers. Or if he pays more attention on tertiary education, and the same thing even with health. We had an Olukoye Ransom Kuti who paid greater premium to
primary healthcare.
Primary healthcare. It worked, but while we were clapping for that giant strides in the primary healthcare, secondary and particularly tertiary healthcare became so dilapidated that medical tourism became part of our culture in the country. So we may need somebody to look at those aspects. Look at in the last dispensation, we had information, culture, and tourism all lumped into one ministry, and it became a difficult. Where will the minister focus? Culture and tourism, which is very dynamic on its own, or information management? So I think we would begin to now micromanage the sectors in such a manner that we would have, hopefully, would have efficiency. And I think so the whole essence is to further segment the different aspects of governance into unit and manageable components that you can assign people supervisory roles and task them with delivering results.
Well,
I think
at
what need
cost
most
to the nation's governance?
Well, I agree with you that there will be costs attached to it, but there's a higher cost to inefficiency. And I must tell you,
all right.
there's a higher cost for inefficiency.
Let me bring Gabriel in here. Dr. Gabriel Nwambu, what do you make of it in the light of Nigeria saying that the economy is bleeding, the government is coming to say, look, we inherited lots of challenges economically. Can we afford this sort of large government of 48 cabinet members? How would they even be arranging themselves in cabinet?
Thank you so much. You see, we just saw the address of Mr. President to Nigerians. You know, he pleaded with Nigerians, very good script. You know, he talked to Nigerians how we must tighten our belts, how we must try to accept the present precarious situation of the country, how we have, as citizens, you know, try to endure for some time, you know, try to cut down and all that. You know, so one would naturally expect that the president and commander-in-chief, with the greatest respect to him and the office he occupies, one would expect that he will replicate that, you know, in his actions and his activities, you know, his body language. You know, we expected to see something that will reflect exactly that statement. But nay, we have not seen that. What we have seen in the appointment so far, in the screening of the ministerial screening, 48, that is huge and very large. Recall also that this is a country that is hemorrhaging, you know, in the street of China and everywhere, looking for where to borrow monies and all that. Some that have been borrowed have not even come in, you know, and we are talking about a very huge, you know, cabinet who will now come up to start having SAs, SSAs, PAs, assistant to PAs and all that. These are all cost of governance in a country that is, you know, that is just huge debt body.
Yeah, I mean, that's what lots of people are saying. How do we stand our creditors and say, look...
We have a problem here. Now, one also would have expected to see, you know, very polished technocrats who do very well. But, you know, the appearance, it appears to me like it is settlement for persons who were diehards, who did a good job for the president and commander-in-chief. So what we are saying essentially is that the persons there who were nominated were not. One of the cardinal principles to just start good governance is proper vetting of ministerial nominees. That's how to start. But we saw somebody who had 2 credits, just 2 credits, brother. 2 credits. And the person had the effrontery to even be reminding the Red Chamber that he has the qualification of, even with the 2 credits, he could contest any position in Nigeria and all that.
Let me put it clear. He was saying that he still has other results.
Some other this, but why did he not tender?
And that's what the Senate president asked him.
It's not for him to choose which to tender or which not to tender. But as far as Nigerians are concerned, what he had tendered was 2 credits, and everybody heard it. So 2 credits where you had people, technocrats that do the best medical doctors in the US, Europe, everywhere, Nigerians. You see people that have, you know, performed creditably well in their field of endeavor.
Yeah, but
and
we still have some of them.
Have attachments of school starts, attachments, addendums and all. You see, do Nigerians, do we want to keep deceiving ourselves?
Okay.
If we do not want to deceive ourselves, we will look up for ministers who are pure technocrats. Who
there are some of them on this list.
There are
very
few.
Yes,
Sir.
and that's where I'm coming
few.
to. Yeah.
Very few.
Sajoh,
yes.
Can we say that our security agencies have also failed us? I mean, because some people are coming here with incomplete documentation. Your party, the All Progressives Congress, don't you have a vetting unit where you take a look at all of this, the presidency, before sending it to the DSS? And people are asking, what did the DSS do in vetting these people? And they are coming to the Senate only for us to discover that their documentations are missing.
I think somehow we're missing the point. The capacity and credibility of the persons may be the focus of security documentation, particularly the person's credibility.
Not the academic credentials.
Whether he is carrying some baggage. The purpose of the Senate screening is what the Senate is doing now, to go into the nitty-gritty. But be that as it may, I'm still talking about, like, for example, this question of technocrats versus politicians. I mean, a lot of the political actors in the political space were technocrats or are technocrats in their own rights. You do not, because somebody is playing politics, you say he has lost his background as a technocrat. I think we will be missing the point. But I am still on my feet, the fact that the major thing that we need in this country now is efficiency of the governance process.
And that's what people are saying. How can we have an efficient government? Like he has said, if we go to, our foreign partners to go and seek for support, and we are going to present a cabinet of 48. The US and other advanced societies don't have, some of them even have populations more than us. They just have like 15, 16 members of cabinet. But you can see how huge this is. What exactly is Tinubu trying to tell Nigerians? That's what people are asking.
I'm telling you what he is trying to tell Nigerians, that he is going to micromanage every aspect of our national development for greater efficiency. Is very important. You cannot lump, issues and put them under the supervision of one person. And if that person, unless that person is an octopus, you will have problems. If you put 2 or 3 people and you ask them to behave like driver and agbero in a ministry, they will keep quarreling in that ministry, and everything will be stopped.
Well, some of them who are on this list are being referred to as spent forces, if I may borrow the term used by Professor Wole Soyinka. Some of these people were former governors in their state, and we saw some things that they did. Some of them are already in the Senate. Why would you want to leave the Senate to go to become a minister? And then people are beginning to question the rationale of removing some names and bringing some others, like we had with Festus Keyamo. What exactly is the APC and the government of the APC in power now trying to send to Nigerians?
So that they do listen. That if you can take a decision as a leader, and if there are superior arguments, they may not be in the public space, but if there are superior arguments on an issue, and you listen, that also is also a very good thing for our country. That the leader listens to superior argument for whatever reason. People argue that this was not done properly, or this should be done properly. This person was excluded wrongfully. This person was included wrongfully. And if the president can listen and do this, what we want from our president is a president that listens to us. There are a number of policies that President Tinubu put across. And when Nigerians began to question people, even on this your programs, and people questioned those programs and said they were not workable or they were not good, and then they were changed. So we really need a president that listens to the voices of the public.
Okay, and I'll bring you in back, Dr. Gabriel Nwambu. When you take a look at Tinubu's government right now, and then this ministerial list that was sent, it looks like due diligence is not being done so much as we would have expected initially. One of the nominees, Mariam Shetty, was removed just when she was at the verge of being screened. Her name was already listed, and then we are hearing talks that it looks like the president's decision was altered in the communication between the executive to the National Assembly, the Senate. So if it was altered, who did the alteration in a message that was delivered by his own chief of staff? Is there a lack of due diligence in the presidency?
Yeah, I cannot say for sure if there is a lack of due diligence in the presidency. But however, the impression is not a good one. When before ministerial nominees will be sent across, that person must have gone to the DSS, done requisite screenings and all that before the names. And I saw former Speaker Baja, come to distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio and submitted it. And, to withdraw, just to withdraw. I saw so many things in the social media. I know I will not want to go by those things we've seen in the social media. Some has even accused in the social media that person that was withdrawn, the Dr. Shetty, was a very close ally of the former vice president of Nigeria, who just left, Oshibanjo. And that was the reason why she was withdrawn and another person fixed another. But we do not want to believe any of that. What we are saying is that it does not show a cabinet, it does not show a government that, is apt to the job. It doesn't show, to fix names, even at the point of screening, you withdraw. It's not a good signal, for somebody that is just starting, and the government that we love so much, President Tinubu, we mean well for you, we want you to succeed, but we must critique your activities to make sure, you be up to your toes and you do due diligence to the affairs of Nigeria as it were.
Now, what sort of agenda are people like you in the civil society and should other Nigerians, be setting for this cabinet? It's going to be the largest Nigeria's political history. People are saying that it will affect the cost of governance, but in terms of developmental indices that people will be expecting, if we have high number of ministers, it means we will have an expanded number of ministries. What should be the agenda that CSOs and other Nigerians should set?
No, the first agenda should be accountability. That's number one. Accountability goes with transparency. I want to borrow an example from somebody who became a governor in 2012, Sajoh Dixon, who is now a senator. He initiated what were called Transparency Initiative Bill in 2012 in Bayelsa State. This Senator Sajoh Dixon made it, it was not signed into law that any governor who fails to, make public what comes into the state and how he has spent it every month, three consecutive times, will be impeached. That the State Assembly should start impeachment procedure on the said governor. So, as we speak now, it is a law in Bayelsa State that the governor or his representative must tell the people, call the people together in a kind of town hall meeting, tell them what has entered, how he has spent the money, and how they intend to run for the next month. That is the kind of governance we need in Nigeria. That is accountability. See, when you shield governance in secrecy, when you make these things, you don't let the public to know and other, you give room for all manner of speculations. You give room for people to create imageries that might not even be true, and you suffer it because you created the secrecy. Now, you have something to do with transparency too, and the rule of law. We want them to, the governance, the cabinet, to make sure that all they do has to do with the rule of law. The rule of law simply means the predominance and supremacy of the law. But so far, in the present administration, we've not seen a very good rule of law. We've seen something that is like a dual carriage thing, where somebody that has a den gun is charged for illegal possession of firearm, and one other person who has assault rifles and all manner of the AKs in somewhere in Port Harcourt is busy showing his guns, bragging with it, and even threatening a sitting governor. That's crazy.
Yeah,
so that is the kind of
those are the situations that the government will have to deal with.
And it should not be. Yeah. It shouldn't be. That's
okay.
our
And I'll come to
position.
you too. Yeah. What sort of governance parameters is the APC and the president setting ahead for this number of ministers? Because the tendency is that because these ministers are so much, you have a sleeping cabinet where some people will just be layovers, some people will be hiding under the cocoons of others. No. We saw that happening under Buhari's government where some ministers were sleeping ministers.
No two systems are the same. This is a different system entirely. And like I told you, there are two components of the governance structure that President Tinubu is putting on ground. And that is why he's splitting the departments to manageable components that can be overseen very clearly. Now, first and foremost, yes, there will be transparency and accountability. There will be openness in the governance template. But the two most important components that President Tinubu is going to lay on table are, first, there will be deliverables for every ministerial department.
We saw that under Buhari too, where Boss Mustafa, they were holding all of these retreats. Now the cabinet ended and we didn't see anybody being dismissed.
This one,
other than just one or two.
There is going to be deliverables for every minister and every department of government. Those deliverables would have timelines. You saw in the president's address, his recent address. For the first time, he is given a task and given a timeline. We're now going to have deliverables and we're going to have timelines to measure them. That's one. Two, there is going to be value for money. You're talking about cost. I'm telling you also that attached to that cost will be increased efficiency, because lack of efficiency is more costly than putting in a little more money to ensure an efficient service delivery.
How do we ensure efficiency? When you have 48 ministers, that will be how many vehicles and fueling of such vehicles with SSAs and all of that. We have to hold these people accountable. That's what Nigerians are saying. If we have 48 persons,
let me tell you, you have SS, you have SSS. That's all people are talking about. It's not compulsory that we have a large number of SS and SSS. What really matters is that will the service be delivered efficiently? Will the system function for the people rather than function for the operators of the system? These are the more germane questions we need to ask.
Madam Sajoh, some of these nominees that I'm seeing, they are looking at Tinubu's nomination of them as a ticket for political enjoyment.
It is the mandate given to President Tinubu is his own mandate. Any minister goes on a delegated mandate. He is delegating part of his mandate to that minister. We should hold President Tinubu to account for his commitment to deliver, and that each of the ministers will have to deliver. Like I said at one forum, that look, this man, to use pidgin English, is going to chook eyes into what people are doing. He's not going to be aloof, and he's going to listen to you. He's going to listen to me. He's going to listen to people. So it's not going to just give you a department and say, look, do whatever you like with it.
Okay, well, that was a major feature of the last government, where we saw people, being comfortable as long as they are appointed. They know that there's a likelihood they will spend 4 years. If we have this sort of ministers eventually cleared by the Senate, what exactly should we also set, we Nigerians and CSOs and the media and everybody, set as a template for the president to use to hold his appointees to account? I'm saying this because I told him earlier that some of these nominees are already seeing their nominations as a ticket to political enjoyment, having SUVs, living largely, traveling abroad on diplomatic passports and all of that. That's why I see lots of people going to accompany them to the Senate for screening, and then even after screening in anticipation of political patronage.
Well, thank you so much. You see, the president has done his bit by, presenting persons he feels could steer the affairs of the ministries. But I tell you, see, some of these persons are persons who contested elections and failed, showing that their people rejected them. Some of them are people who have served as governors and could not even pay salaries. You are bringing them there. Some of the persons, the nominees, are persons who still have cases with the EFCC and ICPC,
like the case as the case may be. Former Governor Matawale of
these are clear,
that's why a lot of Nigerians are surprised.
These are very clear, features we can see. Now, how do you now say you can give such people timeline to perform, even when they were governors for 8 years, they could not perform? How can you now say you will give them, so it becomes so difficult. The analysis is a very difficult one, but I just hope they succeed. I'm praying for them. I wish them well. But from what we are seeing so far, some of them might not be able to deliver.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next politics now is that of sharing portfolios. Are you already thinking of who and who should get what? That? And secondly, we saw a political innovation by President Tinubu nominating a ministerial nominee from the Federal Capital Territory for the very first time. Talk to us about those two issues.
Yeah, okay. Number one, there are some of these people that are already, stalling in their careers, that we expect that some of them can already be pigeonholed where they're supposed to fit, and I can tell you that there are some of them that already, there are names that you could pinpoint what they have done in certain particular fields that will bring value.
Anyone in mind particularly?
People like Professor Ali Pate. Ali Pate, you know, he was once a minister here. And
Minister of State
yeah,
for
yeah,
Health.
and he has been part of the health systems in the world. We know somebody like Latif Agbemi, you know, in the legal profession, you cannot fault him. There are people you may even dislike, but in terms of performance, you cannot say they are not very good. You may dislike Erofai, for example, but his urban renewal in Kaduna is something that is worth seeing. The nominee from my state, for example, Professor Tahir Mamman, who was once DG Nigeria Law School and presently a Vice Chancellor of the university. There are some of these people that are actually, you know, you could say, yes, they are fit. We're looking at people like maybe Atiku Bagudu. If for any reason the agricultural revolution in Kebbi is replicated in the country, where a dry Kebbi was providing paddy rice for Lagos to mill and provide lake rice, you know, things like that. We have people like that with this forward thinking. If we can get them to those areas where they have excelled, we have people that, okay, we also then, I tell you that given an FCT indigene ministerial position is one of the best things that would have happened. And I think it's a journey, the start of a journey of recognizing that, you know, contrary to most of the fabled stories about the virgin land, there were people here, and there are still people here. And those people have lost the rights of a state. And then as a people living in a federal capital territory, which is basically now a place where elites from all over the country come to enjoy themselves, should not be deprived completely of also rights that others enjoy in other states. So I think I commend President Tinubu for this.
All right, very quickly as we try to round off, I want you to just also say one or two things on those two questions. First, on where you think one of the nominees or the other could actually go to, and then of course the issues of the FCT nomination too.
Yeah, I start with the latter. The issue of the FCT nomination, like the Honorable Zafania that was nominated, he's a performer. Yeah, I think he will perform. He had already performed creditably well while he was a local government area council chairman and while he was in the House of Reps. You know, this is somebody we know that is dedicated. He will do due diligence and he will perform. The president will not regret appointing him. And there is some other person, a lot of people might, you know, argue, so many haters, you know, somebody like former Governor Nyesom Wike. The truth of the matter is that Wike is a performer. You might not like him, you might not like what, but the truth, you can't take it from him. Yes, Nwike is a performer, and if you place him in places like maybe Ministry of Works or something, forget it. He's going to perform, you know, better than he even did in Rivers State. So I think that is the way to go.
All right, Dr. Gabriel Nwambu is a civil rights campaigner and then leadership and good governance advocate. We must thank you so much for joining us on the program to help us understand the issues. And then Sajoh is a former commissioner for information in Adamawa State, renowned journalist and someone who is a member of the All Progressives Congress. And we're all watching and seeing if your name will be on the list, but we don't know. Maybe there's still a third list that's coming because, I mean, we've seen someone being removed at the last minute, so there could be more removals or more addition.
Nobody should be removed for me, please.
Oh, okay, so we'll continue to wait.